The finish line is in sight. Looks easy, doesn't it? But those who've been here know how hard these steps can be. They can take many, many months of commitment. Today is the celebration. Join Australian greats Lisa Ondiki and Steve Monaghetti. Welcome to the 35th Gold Coast Airport Marathon.
Every man's Mount Everest, and this morning over 15,000 marathoners and half marathoners are waking from their slumber, leaving their base camp, and they're looking to climb their Mount Everest, their summit this morning, which for 5,500 athletes is the marathon, and for over 10,000 athletes is the half marathon. Good morning, I'm Ian Eckersley. Welcome to the 35th running of the Gold Coast Airport Marathon, and I'm joined this morning by Australian running legend Steve Monaghetti. Steve, welcome to the webcast as my co-commentator today. Great to have you on board for quite a few hours this time.
Yes, something different for me rather than being out pounding the pavement, pacing the 3-hour group as I've done previously. I'm delighted to be along to enjoy a different view of the marathon.
Now, you won't be straining that Achilles that you had an operation on in December last year. I guess that's a bit of the reason you're not out there running the marathon, but you're still fit and active, mate. You're still running really good times and a pretty handy 10K yesterday too.
Oh, I worked pretty hard yesterday, yes. I had to hold off the first woman yesterday, but I got it done. And yeah, I probably haven't done, out of respect of the marathon, I haven't done the volume, having had that operation in December. And it shows you need to prepare over, 6 months to get ready for a marathon like this. So I made the decision I couldn't quite get the distance out, so I chose to run the 10K, and here we are this morning, so enjoying it.
Well, look, it's very exciting. As you know, we always get quite excited at the start of the Gold Coast Airport Marathon. The anticipation that maybe this year will be the year that we'll go sub 2:10. So I guess there's 2 times in the men and 1 time in the women, particularly we've got our eyes on. 2:10.01 is the race record, only 2 years old, but the longer one is the Australian all-comers record, Deeks, which is 31 years old now, 1982, 2:09.18.
I know, and that's very fast, and the reason it stood for 31 years is because it's quick, obviously, but, gee, we've got a field this year that's pretty good, so hopefully me being in the chair, I'll bring a bit of fast pace to the race.
We'd hope so. Not too much fast talking, because we want to relax and enjoy it. And, of course, the women's time, the women's record has also stood for 20 years, held by Japanese runner Eriko Asai. That's 2:29.29. But as we look at the quality of both of the fields, and we'll take you through them a little bit later, we think we've got the fields to do it this year, don't we?
We have said that before. You need everything. You need all the planets aligning, and I think we've got the field and the depth in both the men's and the women's this year to do it. So it's just the pace, it's the weather, it's a few other factors that just need to just get right today, and hopefully we can get all those planets aligning.
And it is. I mean, for the individual athletes, the planets have to align too. You can prepare well, as you know, and little things can go wrong on the day. It can be, a little drink or two that you don't get, or falling off the pace at some stage. If the pacemakers are a little bit off their times as well, that can affect things.
Oh, it sure can, and it will get exaggerated. And it is the one event I say, imagine pulling out of something like the Gold Coast Airport Marathon because of a blister. It can happen in a marathon, and it wouldn't happen probably in any other event, but things get compounded. So minor little glitches, they really get exaggerated, so they can end up being minutes, and that's we're talking seconds, really.
Yes, absolutely. Look, before we get to the marathon, of course, we've got the half marathon this morning, and we might take you through the elite field and the men's and women's, and we've got some good runners coming up here, and whether the race record of 61 minutes, I think it's 10 seconds, is going to go.
That won't go. Benson Massey's record and that's stood since 92, so it's been long-standing as well, 21 years. So 21st anniversary, I think that'll stay.
That'll stay. All right, well, we'll have a look at who we've got in the field there. A strong local contingent. Liam Adams is from Melbourne. He's got a PB of 63.28. Run on the Gold Coast last year when he won it. So we understand he's in pretty good shape. So Liam could be one to watch. I think he's almost your pick, isn't he, Steve?
Yeah, pre-race favourite. He's in great shape, on the up. Will be a marathon runner eventually. Really good track form and good on the road and cross country. So probably best on the road. So I think he's probably the one to watch out for certainly in the men's event. Troopy, of course, my friend coming back. He's turned 40 now, and I think his main aim today is to run think it's about 64.33. I should remember because it's my 40-plus record that he's aiming for, and that would make him competitive in this race. If you're running in the 64s, you may not win, but you'll be on the podium. So Troopy's firing up, ready to go, and looking forward to running a good time. He always runs well up here on the Gold Coast, so looking forward to his race today.
He always talks a good race and usually delivers in that regard as well. Marty Dent from Canberra, he's 34 now, but he's still running pretty well. He ran 2:12 in Fukuoka in the marathon 2 years ago. Marathon PB going back a couple of years, 62.16. Look, we'll get probably 4 or 5 runners are going to be together for most of the race, and Marty should be there for the bulk of it.
Yeah, and another young guy, Harry Summers, going well, looking forward to. Very competitive, can be inconsistent, but when he's on, he could really test Liam today.
Benjamin Ashkettle is the 5th elite guy. He's got a half marathon PB of 65.59 last year. Pretty young. We would think he would have improved over the last 12 months, so he could be one to watch as well. Mm-hmm. Just looking at the women's field in the half marathon as well. Nikki Chappell, another Melbourne girl. Look, Nikki's in good form, we understand. Her half marathon PB just over 68.5 in Japan 3 years ago. So she's one to watch for. But I guess the next one, Jessica Trengrove.
Jess Trengrove, yeah, certainly debuted at the London Olympic Games. At the Olympics, that came off. That was only her second marathon. She's really ready for the World Championship, so you know she's going to be in good shape. This will be her last big hit out before those World Championships marathons, so she'll be very competitive.
And next month in Moscow. We've got a lot of great trans-Tasman rivalry in various races today. Danielle Ingram-Trevis from New Zealand. She could be a bit of a threat. 73.08 is her PB. Pretty strong 10K PB to give you an indication there. So watch out for Danielle.
Abby Bailey from Melbourne, also good, really good, mainly good track runner, but most particularly runs very well on the road. So I think she'll be competitive today. Might struggle. I think the first couple are probably our outstanding runners here.
And 26-year-old Miki Oka from Japan is our strongest Japanese half marathoner. Not a lot of recent form on her, so it's a little bit hard to tell what sort of shape she's in. But the Japanese always run well here, so you would never be surprised if they are leading and or running. So as usual, we've got our roving reporter Jessica Mears out on the course, and Jess is wonderful trying to soak up the atmosphere, give us a sense of what's happening out there. So we're going to cross out to Jess, who's at the half marathon start.
It's a crisp July morning here on the Gold Coast, and we're at the start of the half marathon. I tell you, it's going to be a cracker of a day for some long distance running out here. About 11 degrees this morning, I think, and we've had all the elite runners just warming up, getting their legs turning over, doing some run-throughs. We're about 5 minutes out from the start, and I've found a friend to have a chat to here, Courtney Gilfillan. Now, Courtney, this is your first half marathon, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, first half.
And so what's the normal scene for you? Obviously an incredibly fit person and with some amazing achievements under your belt.
Usually triathlons professionally, so I was here this year and I thought I'll give the half a go. I wasn't overseas yet, so yeah, and usually do the 10K elite. So this is a bit of a change, but it'll be good.
So what made you want to have a go in the half marathon this year?
Just pretty much a bit training run and really give it a go the distance. As I get a bit older, I'd like to go into halves after triathlon. So yeah, it was just a good time of the year for me to have a go at it and get a personal best for myself. So
absolutely. So what sort of time are you shooting for today?
I'd like to get under 120, so I'll be happy with that today. So yeah, so I won't be going out with the front girls as such, but I'll be in there somewhere in the mix, so it'll be good.
Fantastic. And what is it about the Gold Coast Marathon, the race here specifically, that you enjoy?
The people and the people that get behind it and all the athletes. Like you see everyone running here having a go from beginners to elites, and so it's just awesome because everyone can run together. So you got some of the world's best here, and it's just awesome atmosphere. So
yeah, absolutely. It's going to be some impressive performances out there today, no doubt. Now, I'm pretty sure we're about to get underway, so I'll let you get back to it. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Now, we are about to get run over, so I'll let you guys continue on with the chatting over there.
Thanks very much, Jess. We'll cross out to Jess a couple of times throughout the day, and we've got an all-star marathon cast as well as Mono. We've got we'll be talking to Rob De Castella, Lisa Ondieki, and of course Troopy and Pat Carroll, Mr. Gold Coast. So it's great that you guys still get involved, and I can see that it really energises all of you former marathoners to get back and get in touch with it again.
Oh, it's almost like a reunion for us up here, and we're hanging on to all those good times that we had. That's all we talk about, how good we were, how good we are now.
You're a bit of a select club of the elite guys who have, really run at that level. I guess you'd like to get a few more new elite runners in there, whether that's a Michael Shelley or a Liam Adams, someone comes through from the younger ranks and really starts to run quality world-class times.
Yeah, that's right. And we talk about the Africans, but wouldn't it be great if we're talking about the Australians and being very competitive? We're not far away. Give us a couple of years and I think we'll certainly get a new crop coming through, Ian. So I'm looking forward to that just happening over the, we'll see guys through the half today, and they'll step out to the marathon shortly, and the girls are going really well, so not far away. Hang in there.
Yeah, well, I guess we need to be patient because good runners are not bred overnight in that regard. It takes a long time to build your endurance base. I've been reading a lot of stuff about the Kenyans lately, and a fascinating insight where they talk about building your endurance house, your aerobic house, and that for most runners that can take 10 years at the elite level. The difference with the Kenyans is they start building that house from the age of 6 or 7 when they're walking and running to school. But in a lot of the Western world, we don't start doing serious training till we're 13, 14, 15.
No, and it's getting worse, people driving kids to school and that sort of thing. So we talk about the house, and we say that, a lot of those Africans and myself and Deke and Lisa, we're in the penthouse. Mate, that's how well we were going.
So you still get to stay in the penthouse, and you don't go down in the elevator as you get older, mate?
Oh, you do a bit, yes. I'm descending fast.
Now we're looking at the start of the half marathon, which is really close. A massive field of 10,500 competitors. We actually think there's more women than male competitors in the half marathon because the ranks and the numbers of female participants just across the general population has been really increasing over the last few years. And I guess that's just great to see, the fact that in years gone by, everyday mums, everyday young women, older women would not have thought to get out there and run a half marathon. We're just about to go in the start of the men's and women's half marathon here at the Gold Coast. It's in the dark and they are off. We just see the first cracks of light coming through, and we will see them streaming through. It will take a good couple of minutes. But look, you can see the depth of that field there. Runners' heads and arms bobbing as far as you can see. So if you're at the back of that pack, you'll have to be patient. It will take you a good few minutes to get through the start. Lots of people right around the world. They come from all around Australia. We're getting the names of people coming through. Mark Gleeson from Wooloowin, Alan Harvison from Robina. 10,500 people is a really good critical mass of half marathoners, isn't it, Steve?
And this is, I call this a normal person's marathon because you don't quite have to put your life on hold. And if you've been able to get out most days and run a 10K, then you can stretch it out to the half marathon. So it is the really popular distance at the moment. So, and we are seeing all shapes and sizes. We see the balloons there, as you might see, crossing the screen of some of the pace runners to try and make sure that the runners stick to their pace so they know what goal pace they're running. So, but it's an event for everybody, and that, whilst we talk it and we focus a lot about the elite, it's very much about participation. And you're seeing, 10,500 people not spectating, they are running. They're out there today, running, walking with friends, family, for different reasons, a lot of them as well, charities and different causes. So great to see the colour and the atmosphere out at the half start.
Now, like me, you would get a lot of people say, I couldn't run a marathon, I couldn't even run a half marathon. But like me, it's great to encourage people. This is accessible. People would be surprised. The stories that you hear anecdotally that we all know from half marathons and marathons around the world, people who were overweight, had health issues, a year or two later of commitment with diet, training, giving up smoking in the case of some people, this is an accessible event for many, many people.
It is, and a bit like the 3-hour marathon. The 2-hour half marathon is a very achievable distance for a lot of people, so that's a real aim for people. So I like that barrier. They've got something to focus on, and you know, it is, if you're out there for a couple of hours, that's exercise that, you know, I reckon it is achievable. It's realistic, and people can do that. And you know, by a little bit of training, you still have to prepare. You can't just wake up, you know, this morning decide you're going to do it. So all of these athletes will have done a certain amount of running in the lead up, and you know, that's good that you need to prepare. It's a bit of a journey, and like we say, today's a celebration of that journey, so get out there and enjoy it.
And of course, the other beauty of an event like Gold Coast is that many people use the half marathon as a stepping stone to the marathon. Not all of them will step up, but the number of people I know, and you would encounter this as well, who say, well, that was good to do the half, but I don't feel like I've really challenged myself unless I really step up to the full marathon.
Exactly. It's a bit like, I suppose you've got to base camp. Some people decide they want to go to Mount Everest, and some people get to base camp and go, oh gee, I understand how hard it is now just to get halfway to a marathon. You understand the work that's involved to get that second half done. So sometimes people will actually decide, because they've done the half and realised how hard it is just to do that, that they know that the marathon isn't something for them. And that, I like that informed decision, and the half marathon gives people the choice to do that.
Well, somebody who's running the first marathon today, Chloe Maxwell, wife of Matt Rogers, former Gold Coast Titans player, she tells a story that she ran the half marathon last year, saw a woman with who was much more unfit than her, overweight, wearing the marathon finishers t-shirt, and she thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So Chloe Maxwell is stepping up to the marathon this year. Matt did the marathon last year. So people have all sorts of different motivation. It can be a simple looking at somebody else and thinking, if they can do it, so can I.
You sure Matt didn't just borrow a t-shirt and put it on a
random
lady or something?
Chloe actually thinks that might have been, it might have been a con. It might have got her in, but Matt has been very supportive. And of course, that's the thing that we can't underestimate, that with all of these people we're seeing doing the half marathon, you need supportive people around you. It might just be one partner, but having a group to run with, a family network, and needing people to sort of, you know, keep you motivated through what is many, many months of training.
And it's very social now, and that's the thing. People, you know, I don't even want to say it, you know, the loneliness of the long distance runner, I have said it, but it's not like that at all now. It's very social, and if you get in a good group and a good environment, I like to say, if you're in a good group and a good environment and you set a goal, it becomes not sort of, you're not so focused on it, you're just enjoying it, and if you happen to then run the half or the marathon at the end of it, then fits in nicely, that's a bonus. So it's a bit like, it's a rite of passage, and a lot of people will be wearing those t-shirts and their medals around in training for the next 12 months because they've deserved to earn that t-shirt. They've deserved the right to wear it.
I almost think there's a bit of social exclusion in southeast Queensland if you haven't done an event at the Gold Coast Airport Marathon, whether it's a fun run or the half marathon or the marathon. I caught up at the fantastic ASICS Expo over the last couple of days with a variety of people, and we asked them just what their motivation was. Everyone has different motivation, and it was fantastic to see. And let's just have a look at just everyday runners and why they're here at the Gold Coast Airport Marathon.
My name is John Laverick, I'm from Bundaberg, and I'm going to do the 5.7k run because the rest of my family is doing it as well. I just want to be a positive role model.
Hi, my name's Vanessa James. I'm from Ipswich. I'm running the 10Ks. I'm running because I want to improve my health and fitness, and because my family's all into it as well.
My name is Camille Laverick. I'm from Bundaberg, and I'm running the 10K because my parents want me to, and because I like running.
G'day, my name's Paul Gelly and I'm from Ben Lomond, little village near Armidale, and yeah, just up here to run the full. I've done a couple of halves and just thought I'd try to prove it to myself that I could run the full. So excited and looking forward to it.
My name's Carol Dwyer. I'm here with my friend Jenny. We're from the Sunshine Coast. We go to the gym at Majimba, Invigorate Gym, and there's a bunch of us down here for a ladies' weekend to run in the 5.7 kilometre race tomorrow morning. We're going to have a few drinks tomorrow night, so the Gold Coast better watch out. So we're here for a good time.
Hey guys, my name's Steve Warwick. I'm from Gladstone. This is my daughter Cameron. I'm running in the 42k marathon. Cameron is running in the 2k tomorrow, and we're running together to have fun and enjoy the event. Say something.
We're doing it?
Together.
Yes.
As a family. Thanks.
My name's Andrew Gill. I'm from Sydney, and I do the Gold Coast. I'm doing marathons. I run marathons because I had a daughter who had heart problems, and she can't do it, but I can. And that's why I do them.
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm running the 5.7 marathon with my mum's business, the Gold Link on Gold Coast. Yeah, and yeah, just for fun. That's all.
My name is Jenna Fan, and I come from Taiwan. Now, and I have marathon because I like sport.
That's fantastic to see. The expo draws thousands of people. They come to collect their registration, and they're all looking for latest clothing, little bits of innovations, technology. These expos are pretty popular at marathons around the world, aren't they, Steve? It's a good chance for everyday people to get the best of the latest advances in technology.
It is, and it's become part of the event now. And you might pick up a few tips. You don't want to take too much information on a couple of days before the event, but you might get some fuel that you'll take on board for the day, and you obviously see people. I like it because you're catching up with a lot of people who will go to those events. It's almost like a chance to renew an acquaintance, see about an event coming up, catch up with someone. You might bump into someone who you will only have seen at the last race you did, so you bump into them. And I think even there in that footage it shows that a lot of women and a lot of families participating. So it's really a place to almost accumulate. Runners are a bit looking a couple of days before, you're a bit sort of looking for some direction. So to go out there and have a bit of social interaction actually builds the event. So it's not just on event day, it's in the lead up, and I reckon that's great, all that. I quite like all that lead up.
It's fantastic,
it's
isn't
quite
it?
exciting to be a part of that. And whilst it's information providing, it's all just leading to the, you're starting to get nervous, a bit of nervous excitement. If you're not getting nervous out at the expo, there's something wrong with you, believe me.
Yeah, and of course for a promotion of a number of other marathons. Steve, you've had the privilege of travelling to many marathons around the world. Gold Coast compares very favourably, doesn't it, in terms of the numbers, the organisation, and of course we should mention that this year the Gold Coast Airport Marathon has a IAAF bronze medal label, and that is a sign of the rising prestige. But it does compare very favourably around the world, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, and I'm saying that now. It is an international marathon in Australia, and I've got to say I've seen that transition from really it was an Australian marathon wanting to have an international flavour, and I say that quite honestly, and now there is no doubt it is established as an international marathon that happens to be here on the Gold Coast. What better place to be, obviously, a great location as well, but the actual presentation, the organisation of this event is world class, and having been to marathons all around the world, they were copying, taking ideas off a lot of other marathons around the world. Now they're starting to implement things that other marathons are copying, so they've really become the benchmark, definitely here in Australia, and on an international stage they're very well regarded. You don't get that bronze status without ticking a number of very significant boxes to get to that status. So it's not only about your elite representation, your prize money, the broadcast. There's a lot of factors that are involved in getting that bronze status. So it's the only event in Australia to have it. So I think there's no surprise that here at the trailblazing Gold Coast Airport Marathon they've got it this year.
And the way technology is being used, there's a couple of apps you either could have downloaded ahead of this. A Facebook one where if you pre-registered, whether it's the half marathon or the marathon, friends wherever they are can follow your live splits throughout the race, every 5 kilometres from anywhere in the world. Whoever's running in that bear suit there, if they've registered with Facebook app, the bear could have their splits followed by friends around the world. So the use of technology is fantastic in that regard.
You would notice, I think, Ian, I saw someone there with a phone as well that they may be checking, and either they may be taking photos out on the course as well, but they might also be checking some time, some splits, sending some reports through. Amazing. Isn't technology just wonderful? And you're using it in a positive way to improve the experience that people are having. So,
and look, it's really good even for your timing splits. I mean, GPS watches, I run with one these days. As an experienced runner, you get to know what is a particular pace that you're training at.
Yep.
My pace judgment is getting worse as I get older, so sometimes it's getting getting slower, I know that much, but it is helpful in that regard. Of course, it's always been an international marathon. I think where we're going to see some growth, particularly this year, is in China with the Gold Coast Airport Marathon going to 800 million Chinese residents are expected to watch it, with Beijing Television producing a program from the event. So we talk about the rising Chinese middle class. We haven't traditionally seen athletes from China, but that could be the next wave in the years to come.
And I think they've probably got the base, and obviously the Beijing Olympics in 2008. So you would think that in this, it'll be a generational thing. So obviously when you've got the population, you've got the interest, you've got the technology that they've got to bring you the events, then that role models will happen, and that'll come through for sure. I'm sure we'll see an influx from Asia. We're already seeing that with the Japanese, but I think China's probably the next big country to really take off in mass participation events.
So there's media bloggers from China, photographers, print media, and of course the event here on the Gold Coast is a fantastic promotion of the Gold Coast and Queensland as a tourist destination. So Tourism Queensland and Gold Coast events do a fantastic job in showcasing all the beauty that is here on the Gold Coast. And I guess people like yourself, you get to spend a bit of a winter holiday, get out of the Ballarat chill, mate, to come up and get some sunshine.
That's right. Always bring the family up, and they participate in different events, and there's an event for everybody, as we know, but there's also the Gold Coast, obviously, for people will stay a bit longer. It's school holidays in Victoria and New South Wales, holidays starting, so people will come up and package it up. So there's no doubt there is an attraction to the Gold Coast internationally, but there's also an attraction to interstate people to come up here. So it ticks a lot of very good boxes for why you would want to come, and I think we're seeing that growth in families and people wanting to spend time up here. It used to be that marathon runners are a bit crazy, and the husband would just go off and run some silly event somewhere, whereas now it's very much as we know, the female participation is outstripping male by really strongly, so the families are getting a lot more involved coming up. We even saw the junior kids dash yesterday, where kids, I think they had about 1,600 kids. I mean, that's an event in itself.
Yes.
So that growth has been really strong. And even we talk about technology, and I think the last runner we saw going across the line there was about 11 minutes after the gun went. Now, in years ago, we all would have said, I want to get up near the start line because I need to cross the start line because I'm 11 minutes behind. But with technology now, you've got your chip in your number, take your time, your official time is registered when you cross the start line. So even using technology in that positive way has made the experience a lot better for people. So you're not cramming at the start thinking, wow, I'm getting agitated, using a bit of energy because I'm not crossing the start line. Your own individual time will be recorded when you cross that start line.
So time will be of the essence for a couple of people here at the Gold Coast Airport Marathon today. We could be involved in 2 world records, Steve. So we've got the absolutely inspirational Michael Milton. You might know his name, not to do with marathon running, but as a Paralympian, downhill skiing and cycling. And extraordinarily, he's looking to try and break the world record for the marathon on crutches. 6.5 hours he's going to be out there, but he's pretty confident. And talking to him yesterday at the AirAsia Legends lunch, he was inspirational in his own way, isn't he?
What a great story, and a fantastic fella, very modest, down to earth, always throwing attention to other people and charities and his support crew. And wow, he's got a tough journey out there today, but he seemed very confident. Got great technology that he's using with his blade crutches and things like that, so he looked pretty confident, but he was actually excited. I'm not sure if you want to be excited and keen to be out there, going on crutches through a marathon for 6.5 hours, but he was very focused and very keen on achieving that world record.
Yes, well that means he's going to be out there for probably up until 1:30, 2 o'clock this afternoon. The other person who's involved in a possible world record is Trent Morrow. You might know him as Marathon Man. That's the moniker that he's gone by. Trent is quite extraordinary, maybe more at the extreme and crazy end of marathon running. He's done 69 marathons this year, 69 that is, and he's aiming for a world record of 160 marathons this year. Steve, we love our running, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
I reckon the only reason he's not going to get that record is someone is actually going to lock him up for being insane, surely. gosh, no, that's what an amazing performance.
But it's not just being totally indulgent. I mean, Trent has some personal reasons. He's lost family members due to a cancer. I think that motivates him. And people do the marathon and half marathon for all sorts of causes. We spoke of Michael Milton before. We're actually crossing out to the course with Jessica Mears, and Jessica is speaking with Michael Milton.
Who's from New Zealand. He's an international athlete manager. Now, Derek's been bringing athletes out to the Gold Coast since about 1996. Derek, what's it all about bringing athletes from overseas to the Gold Coast to run?
Well, a lot of the foreign athletes, particularly the African athletes, want an opportunity to race. They want a chance to make some money. They want to compete overseas. This time of the year, there's really not many competitions. So the Gold Coast is really popular because it's a fast course and an event at the time when there really isn't many other places they can go.
So how do you actually go about, having athletes to represent? Where do you find them, or how do they get in touch with you?
Most of my recruiting's word of mouth. I've started working with athletes back when I was a professional athlete myself more than 20 years ago. And one athlete sort of recommends another athlete who recommends another athlete, and we go from there.
So you were an athlete yourself. May I ask in what event and what you did?
I was a marathon runner myself. I represented New Zealand at 2 Olympics in 1984 and 1992. So I know what these guys are going through.
Must be a very handy background knowledge to have, I can imagine, in your line of work. Now, who have you actually got out racing here today?
In the category of actual marathon runners who plan to finish, I have 3. I have 2 men, Robert Mwangi of Kenya, who was 3rd here last year, Tuel Stefanos, an Eritrean running in Australia for the first time. He's an exciting prospect. And on the women's side, Alice Ngarichi. She has a good chance to win on the women's side.
That's pretty exciting. So you think Alice is probably your best winning chance there?
Alice is a real good prospect for a win, although the Japanese girl Yuki will be very tough to beat.
Some really tough competition out there, that's for sure. Now, I know that the Gold Coast Marathon has recently just been awarded the bronze label. Can you explain what that actually means?
Yes, the body that runs all of track and field, all of running, road running and track, brought in about 4 years ago a system of label qualifications to see that the top racers met certain minimum standards in how they did things. They offer bronze, silver and gold, and there's a lot of criteria that racers have to meet in order to get them. They have to do things like doping control, they have to have a diverse international field, they have to have runners from at least 5 countries. And it's quite prestigious, and it's really good that Gold Coast has got up to the bronze label, and I could see them going higher.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for the Gold Coast, that's for sure, because I know it actually is one of only maybe 50 in the world that has a label.
Yes, it is, and it's the first one in the Australia, region, in fact in all of Oceania, I believe.
It's very exciting stuff, that's for sure. Now, in the future, how do you predict, bringing athletes out to an event like this is going to pan out for your kind of profession?
It tends to be self-fulfilling. If we can get a really fast finishing time here, we're going to have more athletes clamouring to come here because it's a chance to run fast in the middle of what is summer for most of the rest of the world. So I'm hoping for some fast times, and after that the race's recruiting job will get a lot easier.
Well, thanks, Derek. We love what you do out here, and it makes the event all the more exciting, and we look forward to seeing your athletes perform out there today.
Thanks very much, Jess. Yes, Derek Frood, one of a number of athlete managers and agents, and they're, I guess, key to getting quality athletes. There's lots of Africans around the world. They can go to any race they like. We've got some good ones over the years. We think we've got the best field ever this year, Steve. The proof will be in the pudding if we get that fast time.
Yeah, and again, that bronze label will certainly help that. And Derek, I've worked and ran against Derek, and he's very experienced, and he's very much on the, well, if you run fast here, other people will come. So whilst it's kind of a bit self-fulfilling that if we get the athletes to run fast, we've got to get them first, but once they run fast, then it really will attract international athletes because they know it's a fast course because it's time-tested. You can say what you like about it, but they will look at times and go, well, you're saying it's fast, but it isn't. And, once they get down to running 2.8s, 2.9s here, that's proof that it is fast.
So, of course, there's lots of world marathons where they're running 2.4, 2.5, but that's probably mid-pack, isn't it? Winning course records of 2.8, 2.9 for big city marathons around the world. That would take it to a whole new level.
It would, and I think we get a bit infatuated with the 2.4s, 2.5s because I'm telling you, if you're running under 2:10, you are still going hellishingly fast, and to do that in Australia would be a terrific result. So whilst we look at the world record being 2:3 now, 2:829, you don't get runners running that every day. So these are, and we talk about how good we are in Australia. These are some of the best runners in the world we're seeing out on the road today. So we're getting some of the peak people, so don't be under any illusions that these are 2:10, they're not any good. They are certainly very, very exceptional athletes, men and women.
Well, the Japanese runner Yukiki Akaba, she actually came third at London this year. I caught up at the expo with a number of the athletes, and let's have a look at those now. The first person I spoke to was perhaps one of our male race favourites, Jairus Chanchima from Kenya.
My plan is that the pacemakers, they do until 30k, maybe to close at halfway in 64. Then they push us until 30. Then we start searching. So we see how the race will go. Until 38. So 38, if we are in a group, I will start moving. Yeah.
So your tactic would be to try and make a move at 38. That's if you're strong enough to go.
Yeah. So that's where I have energy when I reach 38 kilometers.
The second half of the race at Gold Coast is always a bit slower, but if we have a number of runners together from 30 to 38, that will help a record in sub 2:10, won't it?
Yeah. If we go together, we will helping each other. So if we go in a group, in until 35 kilometers, we will smash the course record.
That's Jairus Chanchima from Kenya. He's in that world elite class. 2:07.43 is his PB in Seoul last year. He's from a village called Eldoret, which is in the fabled Rift Valley in Kenya. One of the other Kenyans who we're going to have a keen eye on this year, Steve, will be Robert Mwangi, who was a pacer last year, but ended up finished second. So you'll watch him with interest.
Yes, well, it's an unusual thing, and sometimes there's a rule. Pacers, they don't like them to finish, but it's normally expected now that, if they're going well enough to pace and finish, that they can do that. So, and he's a good example of that. And, it's one of those things, I suppose. Pacing's a funny thing within marathons. We'll talk about that later, but at the moment I think, if they're out, that you want to get the pace going, obviously, and we're already talking about times. Well, they certainly help that because it's a long way to run by yourself at a set pace as fast as the men and women are running. So you do have pacers out there to help with that task.
Let's have a look at what Robert Mwangi had to say, because he's sick of finishing second and third. He wants to go one or two better this year.
Yeah, I know where I made simple mistakes. I know that this race where it is hard, so I know the course. The course lands in my mind for that 1 year, and I remember telling the Lion, the race director, that I want to come back and win this thing because I feel that I was number 2. That was my first podium place in marathon. So I was number 2, and I want to be a winner so that when I go to the world I can be the winner. So this is where I started winning, number 2, and when I went to Argentina, I did the Argentina marathon. I was number 3. I went to Brighton Marathon in UK. I was number 3 again. So I think this is where I started, and I want to start winning here.
He's a very determined young man. Steve, you'll be pleased to know that from his winnings last year at the Gold Coast, he bought prized possessions in Kenya, 10 cows. So he's somewhat of status in Kenya now because he's got 10 cows.
Right. Wow, it's a different world, isn't it? We'd go, what would we go and buy a car or something? And
That's right.
He buys cows. So, and it's a really significant thing because for those guys to do that and go home, he would be rightly so, very well regarded in Kenya because of his running and being able to bring home that money to be able to buy some cows that they can sustain probably a community for 12 months.
Exactly, yeah. In the Western world, of course, that's not the, as you say, what they spend money on. One of our best local prospects, if we look across the Australia and New Zealand field, Aaron Pulford from New Zealand, he's running on debut. He hasn't quite ventured into the unknown of a marathon. Let's have a listen to what he had to say as he looks forward to his first marathon here today.
Training in Wangaratta and big hills and forestry and stuff, so hoping to go the goal time is around 2:16, 2:17, maybe a little bit faster, but anything under 2:20 would be good, so we'll see how it goes.
So you've got a good half under your belt, 66.11 Christchurch pretty recently. That's good for the confidence?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was in heavy training going into that, so I wasn't 100% fresh, but yeah, so it gives me a lot of confidence for the weekend.
Aaron hopes to be running with one of the best well-credentialed local runners, Rowan Walker, so that'll probably fold into a second race. We'll see the Africans and the Japanese go out and we'll have a look at that elite field very shortly, but we will see 2 or 3 races split up pretty quickly, won't
we will,
Steve?
very quickly. And Rowan Walker's very experienced, great fella, Rowan, and I'm sure that Aaron would be looking at Rowan saying, very experienced, just sit in here. And it's interesting the language that, Aaron would use, something like, I'm hoping to, because the marathon, you just never know on debut. It's easy to talk it up, but you've got to actually get out there and do it. So he's going in with quite a conservative approach, which is a good way to start.
But if he debuts at 2:16.17, that would be tremendous. That's
that'd
really
be exceptional. Yeah, that'd be great for him to be able to do that. And it tends to, if you run well in your first marathon, it tends to set a bit of a pattern that, hey, this is an event that I'm going to be accomplished at.
Now, we also had a chat with a number of the women. One of the best credentialed runners, of course, one of the Africans, Alice Garici. She's a mother, so she has that juggling role, but she's a world-class athlete. Let's have a listen to what Alice had to say. What sort of shape are you in? What would be a good time you'd be happy with?
After I ran in Nairobi in October 2:28.04, now I'm hoping I've been improving my shape and I hope to run under 2:28.
So that was an altitude run in Nairobi, so at sea level it should be a little bit easier?
Yeah, I think it should be a little bit easier because it's 0 degrees, so I'll be hoping to run under 2:28.
And do you know much about the other runners? Who are you most worried about? Who are your greatest rivals, you think?
In a competition, you cannot gauge anybody. When the race starts, everything else doesn't matter. It's only to get to the finish line because every competitor is coming to win. So I think everybody is hoping for a win, and we should. But at the end of the day, one winner will win the race.
What a great attitude, isn't it? Wonderful to see that. She's not thinking about the others, just has to think about herself. Of course, her main rival, the one we will have a very keen eye on the women's race, and we'll have Lisa Ondeki later in to call the end of the women's race. The Japanese runner who finished 3rd in London Marathon, London, one of the absolute top-tier marathons in the world. Yukiko Akaba, she's got a PB of 2:24.09 from London 2 years ago. Let's have a listen to what Yukiko had to say through a translator.
She wants to try to get a course record, and if possible, over the course record, she wants to target this year. She's still under the fit-in condition as much as possible, not fit, not yet, but she's trying to be fit to the race in this weekend as much as possible, and she tried to enjoy the race as well. Yeah.
So the Japanese women perhaps have a even prouder tradition of winning here at Gold Coast, so we'll watch Yukiko with interest. As with the men, we'll get 2 or 3 different races, Steve, and we had a chat with Kirsten Malloy, quite a strong contingent of Australian and New Zealand runners.
As well, yeah, but again, they'll be, they're probably 10 to 15 minutes behind the pace of the Africans, but they'll have races within their own groups for sure.
And a few of them have plotted together the Trans-Tasman rivals, but there may be some friends out there trying to help each other today. Let's have a listen to see what Kirsten Malloy had to say and her approach to today's women's marathon.
Look, I actually think there'll be 2 races unfolding in the women's field. I think you'll have the
Japanese girls and the Kenyan girls up front, and I think there'll be a lot of us Aussies and Kiwis running around the same pace. We've had conversations today about the paces that we're going to run, and we're all very similar, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bunch of Aussies and Kiwis running together.
But with that old Trans-Tasman rivalry bubbling underneath, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the Aussies always want to cream the Kiwis and vice versa. But at the end of the day, in women's marathon running, it's about running a PB. And if we can help each other run PBs, we'd be really happy with that.
And Steve, that's the spirit, isn't it? That they will be working against each other in one sense, but they still want to help each other. They still, you know, whether it's the male or women's field, if you run a PB, that's what it's about.
That's right, personal best, and it's about that camaraderie. In the marathon, it's hard to run it. So you need all of those factors working for you. So whilst you might have that competitive spirit in other races in the marathon, you really do have the bond of helping each other to overcome the event firstly, and then it might get a bit competitive then, but the first instance is to help each other just to get over the marathon hurdle.
So last year's female winner, we've got a bit of an unusual situation this year. The female winner from last year, Kaori Yoshida, she actually is on a drug ban and isn't back this year. She tested positive to EPO at the Honolulu Marathon in December last year, so she's serving a 12-month drug ban. And even more sadly, the winner of last year's male marathon from Ethiopia, Alex Shumye, tragically died in a car accident in Addis Ababa, his hometown, in January this year. We've got a little tribute to Alex Shumye, just reflecting back on his fantastic run
course
last
record
year.
and that Australian
2:10:35. It was a terrific run, and Steve, age of 25, cut down way too short in the prime of his career.
Tragedy, yeah, like Wanjuru, the Olympic champion, same thing, died at a young age, and just shows you how important running is to these nations, because their life can take different twists and turns at any time. So tragic, and great that he was able to win here prior to that happening.
And look, we did understand that Alex Shumye was planning on coming back to Gold Coast again this year. His career ambition was to emulate the legendary Haile Gebrselassie. He had a marathon debut, Alex Shumye, of 2:14:33 in 2008, won Gold Coast last year in 2:10:35, had a PB of 2:08:46, so in 2009. He really could have gone into that absolute top tier, couldn't he, Steve?
Oh, yeah, and he looks great. He looks very much like Gebrselassie, so he certainly had all of it ahead of him.
And of course, wonderful scenes last year after that. Robert Mwangi, who helped pace Shumye through, was telling me over the last couple of days he was looking forward to racing his friend again, how he was urging him on during the race to run faster, with Mwangi being the pacemaker. So, and we had wonderful scenes of embrace between Shumye, Mwangi, Kawauchi, the Japanese runner. So, but there will be a new winner in 2013. We're going to watch that with interest, and Robert Mwangi is certainly someone we'll keep a close eye on. So we might even have a look a little bit later at previewing some of the elite runners. But Steve, you got a really good feel about the quality this year. We've got 3 or 4 young pacemakers and depth. We could get a good pack of 7 or 8 runners, Africans and Japanese, to take us through deep into the race.
Oh yeah, and we've got one guy who's faster than the Australian record, so under 2:7:51, Deke's Australian record. So, and we've got 4 guys sub 2:10. So, you're looking at that course record of 2:10:01, and you're saying there's 4 guys who have ran faster than that recently. So it's not like they're past their prime. So, and having those pacemakers and that group around, it looks like they're going to go out. They're very focused on the time this year. So I think it will certainly be quick early, no doubt about that. So it's just a matter of how strongly they can run on in the second half of the event.
So the strategy is to tactics. The pacemakers will go through at 64 pace. 64 minutes for the half marathon. And just looking at the splits between the two halves of the race of the last few years, Steve, if they've gone through in 64, that second half, they've slipped to 66 when we had a world record, course record 2 years ago. That was the split was a little bit less, but that second half of the race, it's always tougher, obviously for fatigue reasons, but we just think it's a little more exposed and it's a little bit hotter here on the Gold Coast by the time you get through the second half.
I think also you're going through the start-finish line and having paced the 3-hour group, it's tough when you go through here and it's all exciting and you think, wow, and then you're heading out and you seem to be running away from the finish line, and whilst you're trying to concentrate, get a bit quieter out there, not as many crowds out on the course, so you really got to be in good shape and be really keen on focusing on concentrating on holding that pace. And only it's a couple of seconds, they're running just over 3-minute Ks, and the women's 3:20, so they're going very fast, so a couple of seconds can eat away very easily, and you probably know you're going to win. So we need to have a race. If you've got a race and you're not worried about the times and you're going, gosh, I've got to run hard here to win, then that will keep the pace rolling. Whereas if you get to 35k, you're getting a bit tired and you're thinking, well, I'm a couple of minutes up the road, I'm safe, that will mean, I'll just back off a bit and just get it done. But if there's a race happening, guaranteed to have fast times. And to be honest, the women's race is the one where they could run really fast, because the ladies we've got here, there's 4 or 5 of them that are way under the course record, 224s, 225s, under that 229. So that 5-minute buffer is better than the men. So I think the women are the ones who could run really fast today.
We'll watch that with great interest. It's all about mind games, that last 10 or 12 kilometres. If you think back over your best marathons, are there any things that really worked for you in your mind, or was it just an on day where you were focused and everything just seemed to be a little bit easier?
No, I think we always went in with a plan. My coach and I, we'd set a plan, and to be honest, there wasn't too many mind games when you were going well, because the plan just rolled out nicely and you stuck to it. When I won in Berlin, we had wasn't even a hill, but it was a slight rise and we had a turn, and we decided that's where I would go, and because I'd get out of eyesight. Once I went around that corner, there was another couple of bends. The second place getter couldn't see me. Psychologically, that was a very strong point, and that worked perfectly. I tell you, the mind games start when the races aren't going so well and you're starting to doubt yourself. Why am I here? What's keeping me motivated? I look down at the Australian singlet and go, well, it's not just about me. There are greater reasons. A lot of people who are running today, it's not about them. It gets hard. It is about them, but then when it gets really tough, you start saying, well, gosh, imagine Michael Milton out there. Imagine the stories, the charities, the people they're doing it for, who are going through far greater battles than we're doing out there. At the end of the day, it's only 10 or 15 minutes, half an hour of pain. It's hard, it's tough, but at the end of the day, if you keep it all relative, then that will be the thing that will keep you going. So that's where the mind's very powerful. When the mind needs to be powerful and strong, because the body sometimes won't be at the end of a marathon.
Great to hear Pat Carroll talking yesterday about he uses a photo of a Japanese marathoner last year who had no legs, finished on crutches. I'm not sure of his name, Mr. Yamoto or something like that. He takes that along to his training group, the photo of him finishing, and says, well, if he can do it, you guys can. So today's the day, the session, that you've got to make it count. You've got to push through the out of the comfort zone, through the pain barrier.
That's right. And again, it's all your preparation and it's getting that out on the day. So for all of us, it's all relative. We've all got our own benchmarks that we look to and our own training. And, you hear the athletes say, 6 weeks ago I was tired because I was training hard. It's all of that training mileage. The fruits of that labour comes out today, and that doesn't matter if you're a 2-hour marathon runner or you're a 7-hour marathon runner. You still are calling upon that reserve that you've got in for lots of different reasons, but also as a result of the training that you've put in.
And of course, it's a balance through that training period, isn't it? You're always trying to push your body to the limit, but I guess what we all learn as we run over a period of time is listening to your body. Okay, is that a niggle which isn't really a problem today because I'm a bit tired, or is that something that's been there, sharper pain than usual? I've got to listen to that. Maybe I don't run today or go a bit easier.
Yeah, we're probably most runners or athletes are doing these types of events. They're a bit compulsive about it, so it's really difficult to back off and listen to your body, and it's great to give advice, not so good to actually live by that advice. So a lot of these athletes today, and even I used to, like the few days leading in, I would always get a niggle, I'd get a bit of a cough, oh, here comes a cold, here comes something.
And you get paranoid, don't you?
It's just part of how our psyche works. I think the body closing down, getting ready for this big battle that that you're going to put the body through, and that's the process it goes through to get ready sometimes, I think. So that was expected for me. So you tend to do, and obviously I was very consistent, didn't happen on the day, and that's a lot of what the people are leading in. That's why I like the expo and these other social interactions. Takes your mind off the personal, because if you think about it too much, you'll come up with something, don't worry,
Yes.
Ian, you'll come up with an excuse, a reason why you can't.
That's right.
So occupy, talk to positive people to make sure there's a reason why you can.
And of course, once you stand on the starting line, as the marathoners will be in about 37 minutes' time, all those other thoughts need to go out the window. It's just about the day, being in tune with your body, and just trying to run to a plan for as long as you can. Some days the plan is going to work out. Some days you'll have those on days. Some days you won't. So you get what you get on a marathon on any given day. You've got to be a bit fatalistic about it too, don't you?
Oh, you do. But as Deke says, and says quite strongly, it's quite simple sport, really. You are just putting one foot in front of another for a very long time. So you can complicate it. You can think about it all you like. At the end of the day, it is very much a basic human endeavour. And if you just focus on that, you know, and some people even use the steps, you know, they'll be getting a bit tired, we'll just count the next 300 paces. So they break it up
to the next telegraph pole or whatever.
Exactly. Those little goals, it tends to be playing mind games a little bit to just get that physical nature going where you think you're tired, but you can set a little goal, achieve that, and before you know it, you're 10 goals down the road.
And Deke was very pragmatic yesterday at the Legends Lunch, saying, I got bad news for you. If you think this is going to be fun, the marathon today, he said, it isn't going to be.
No.
It was quite harsh in a way, but I guess he's just trying to be pragmatic and realistic for people, that it's great atmosphere, it's fun. Once you cross the finishing tape, you'll feel fantastic, but there's a hard slog for most people of, well, anywhere between, you say 10 or 15 minutes, for a lot of people it could be the last hour.